Right, well, hello everyone. Lovely to see so many of you this afternoon. I'm Jill. I think I've met some of you before. I'm from Sheffield Carers Centre and my role is Health Liaison Officer. So I'm going to be doing this session this afternoon, How Can You Support Adult and Young Carers, together with my colleague from Sheffield Young Carers, and I'll just let her introduce herself.
Hi everybody, my name's Helen. I work at Sheffield Young Carers and I manage all the family services here at Sheffield Young Carers. So we're really looking forward to spending some time with you this afternoon, and there'll be lots of opportunities for you to participate and also chance at the end to ask any questions. And if we don't get a chance to answer those all at the beginning, we will be able to come back to those or contact you separately.
Yeah, and just another little bit of housekeeping. I think everybody has got their mics off, but if you could, because the session is being recorded this afternoon. As Helen says, we'll have some breakout sessions when obviously you'll have chance to have a chat in your groups. Okay, so as we said, it's great to see so many of you here today, and we're putting this webinar on because it's Carers Week, which hopefully some of you are all aware of. So this is a national campaign that happens every year in June, which is to raise awareness about caring and highlight all the challenges that both adult and young carers face in their role, and the immense contribution that they make to their families and friends' lives. It's the sort of topic for this year's Carers Week is putting carers on the map. And hopefully it's going to help people. So many adults and young carers don't recognise that that's what they're doing. So hopefully we can help them to become aware of what they're doing and get the support that they need. I've put a couple of links on this slide to both the page on our website, which includes Carers Week programme of events. And Sheffield Young Carers also have 5 simple actions that you could take during Carers Week. So have a look at those after the event. I think this afternoon we've got Sheffield Carers Centre's got a drop-in event at Stocksbridge, which primary care colleagues are helping with. So what are we going to do this afternoon? Well, we're hoping that it's going to be a very practical session that you can get involved in. First of all, we're going to give you a sort of update as to who adults and young carers are, what they do and the challenges that they face. And hopefully you will be able to take some practical ideas away with you to share with your teams and practices about what you can do in your role to support adult and young carers. And we'll also cover what's available from both of the organisations. So first section is who are adult and young carers and what do they do and what are the challenges that they face. So at Sheffield Carers Centre, this is the definition that we use about adult unpaid carers. So it comes from the Carers Trust, which is a national charity, and both Sheffield Carers Centre and Sheffield Young Carers are partner members of the Carers Trust. So what we're talking about is anybody who unpaid, and that's the key thing, looks after or supports someone who wouldn't be able to manage without that support. And it can be for multiple reasons. It could be frailty, so old age, could be they're looking after somebody with a disability or an illness, mental health difficulties or an addiction. The key things are that they're doing it unpaid and that the person they're looking after couldn't manage without that support. But there isn't any typical carer. You can't look at somebody and tell whether they are or are not a carer. It's frequently a family member, but equally it could be a friend or a neighbour. obviously it's a family member, they may be living in the same house, but it's very common for them to be living separately, and it can even be at a distance. So you'll come across people who are caring for elderly parents and doing that from the other end of the country sometimes. We're seeing more and more complex situations. So it's not uncommon for somebody to be caring for more than one person. So somebody may be caring for both a partner or an adult child at the same time as caring for an elderly parent or parents. And also a person may have more than one carer, so two adult siblings caring for elderly parents. And you will also come across where somebody is a carer and a cared for person at the same time. So patients that you are seeing who may have themselves a long-term health condition do consider that they could at the same time be a carer. Frequently the caring role comes on gradually so that people don't actually notice that they're taking on more and more of a caring role, and that's one of the reasons that they don't realize that that's what they're doing. Or it may happen suddenly following a new diagnosis, something like a stroke or an accident. It's also not a static population, so people are moving in and out of the caring role all the time, and that's another reason or it may be temporary, that's another reason that they may not realise that they are a carer. There's no upper or lower time limit to the amount of care they give, so often when there's an item on the news about carers, you'll see somebody who's providing 24/7 care to the person they care for, but it can be 10 hours or less a week. But whatever the situation, if they're providing care that somebody couldn't manage without, we would class them as a carer. Just as carers vary, so does the type of care that they can provide. So I've split some typical caring roles into 4 sections, but this isn't exclusive. There are other things, and each caring role varies. So it could involve some practical care, so things like shopping, food preparation, housework, transport, so taking people to appointments, dealing with things like utilities, so sorting out problems with bills, finances, picking up medication. Personal care, I think a lot of people think if they're not providing some aspect of personal care, that they're not a carer. So getting out of bed, showering, dressing, and giving medication. But that, as I say, it isn't essential that you're providing that type of care to be a carer. It could be emotional care. That's huge. I think that it would be rare for there not to be an element of emotional care in a caring relationship. So that can be providing company, giving support and encouragement, and just listening to problems and reassuring the person that they're caring for. And then another huge thing is really trying to navigate the health and social care system and accessing support and benefits. So people could be providing different elements from those 4 main groups or other things, but whatever they're doing, we do find that although they're a very diverse group and the type of care they provide varies, the impact that it can have on somebody's life tends to be very similar. So obviously caring for your family member or your friend can be really satisfying, and people do get a lot from it, but it can have a huge impact on really all areas of life. So physical health, there's lots of surveys that show that carers' physical health in comparison to non-carers is much more poor. People can get so concentrated on the person that they're caring for, that they neglect their own health. So they may miss health checks, they may delay making an appointment to see their GP because they don't feel they've got the time. If they're providing personal care, so moving and handling, it's common to see back problems, other musculoskeletal problems, and just the stress and anxiety can lead to mental health issues. People really do struggle and don't know how to get support for themselves. It has a knock-on effect on social relationships, so the relationship with the person they're caring for, but also with their family and wider social circle. And all this knocks on really to employment and education. So we know that a lot of people are juggling caring together with employment, but around 600 people every day have to leave employment because it just becomes too much. They can't manage to continue that juggling act. And finances, and increasingly this is what we're hearing on our advice line, how people are struggling with money and bills, etc. And it can just really lead to somebody's life contracting so that they become very isolated. Their self-esteem can be low and they lack confidence. So it can have a huge effect on someone's life.
Thank you, Jill. And as I said, I'm from Sheffield Young Carers. A young carer does very similar to an adult carer, but a young carer is defined as a child or young person under the age of 18 who's caring for one or more family member. It can be mental ill health because of substance misuse, long-term physical illness or disabilities, and they can care for parents, grandparents, and more frequently, we are seeing sibling carers coming through the system as well, where they are supporting their family to look after a sibling with significant challenges. The caring is also practical, emotional in nature. Emotional for young people is one of the big drivers. They spend a lot of time reassuring, listening to, sitting with, and looking after the people that they care about and love, and also looking after siblings if mum, for example, is unwell, or mum is busy looking after a sibling with significant challenges. Often young carers take on a parenting role within the family, but I think it will probably make more sense if you hear from some of the young carers yourself. These are young people that have worked with Sheffield Young Carers and made this poem. Thank you, Jill, for saying that. So, young carers do take on an awful lot of responsibility in some households. This can leave young carers feeling tired, exhausted, overwhelmed, and that has an impact on lots of aspects of their life. Statistics show that young carers have got both lower school attendance and attainment, and that's often because they are worrying all day while they're in the school environment about what's happening to the person that they care for. They're desperate to get home or don't want to go to school at all. And once they get home, their caring role starts, so they don't have time to focus on things like homework or friendships. There are incidents where young people will have injuries from lifting and handling that they've not been trained to do, or that they're physically not strong enough to do. They often neglect their own needs, very much like adult carers, not really prioritising their own physical or emotional health. And often when young people come through Sheffield Young Carers for support, they are already struggling with anxiety and really high levels of stress. They can have difficulties in accessing healthcare or attending appointments because they may not have an adult that can take them to those or that can navigate the system. And we see this frequently, especially with young people with SEND needs that should potentially have been referred to Reigate, for example, years ago, and that's not been done because the parents have not had the capability of being able to do that. It's really difficult for people to go out and access exercise, to socialise with their friends, and they're also at higher risk of a poor diet, and that's related quite often to poverty within the family. Thank you, Jill. So we know from statistics that 28% of young carers will go on to develop their own physical health conditions that can be attributed directly to their caring. And that's from research from Carers UK. 39% of young adult carers, so that would be the 18 to 25-year-old age group, rated their own physical health as either okay or poor, and 45% report having mental health problems. And that was some research done through the University of Nottingham with the Carers Trust. And following the Glasgow Commonwealth Games, Carers Trust Scotland showed that young carers are missing out on opportunities to exercise, with over 50% saying they would do more if they were not in a caring role. So being a young carer can have a significant impact on that young person's health and well-being. Thank you, Jill.
Okay, so hopefully now you've got a good idea about who young and adult carers are and the types of challenges they face and the types of things that they may be doing in their carers role. So you may be wondering, how many people are we talking about? Well, we get the official data from the ONS census, which last took place in 2021. And this data includes anyone aged over 5, and that might be quite shocking, I think, thinking of a 5-year-old caring for someone. So from the census, we know that on that day the census took place, 5 million people aged over 5 said that they were supporting someone who couldn't manage without that help in England and Wales. When you add on the numbers from Northern Ireland and Scotland, that makes a total of 5.7 million in the UK, which is 9% of the population. But, and as you'll see in the next few slides, carers are a really hidden group in society. I think me and Helen have both alluded to the fact that a lot of carers don't realise that that's what they're doing. And Carers UK estimate that the actual number is likely to be around 10.6 million, so double the official figures. And we know also with people moving in and out of caring, and people may be carer, maybe a young carer, and then go on to be an adult carer several times in their lives. And it will affect the majority of people. So 3 in 5 people will be a carer at some point. Using the 10.6 million figure, that would be 1 in 5 adults in Sheffield, so around 100,000 people. 1 in 12 children and young people, so around 7,000. And I think this fact that Helen gave me is very striking and quite easy to picture, that in every classroom there's likely to be 2 to 3 young carers. The other thing which is really quite striking, quite shocking, I think, is that, and this is something that was worked out by a group in the sociology department at the University of Sheffield, using the ONS figures, so using the 9% of the population. They calculated that unpaid care is worth an estimated £445 million a day, which is 162 billion per year. So that's what it's worth to the economy. And it's roughly equivalent to the funding that all of the NHS received in 2020 to 2021. So if people didn't do this vital unpaid work, our society and economy couldn't go on. So that's really worth bearing in mind. So why are we saying that carers are hidden? Well, as I alluded to, caring often comes on very gradually, and it can take people years to recognise that that's what they're doing. The term carer is not something that people like. If you were to say, are you a carer? People are just going to say, no. It's just what you do, isn't it? It's just what you do for your child, your parent, your friend, your neighbour. And people don't like that term carer. So that's one of the main reasons that they don't recognise what they're doing. Often what comes out in the service, etc., is that the biggest barrier to carers getting the support that they need and are entitled to is that the professionals, so health professionals, social care professionals, don't recognise either that they're carers. So nobody has that conversation with them. Carers really feel excluded. For years, they can be going along to appointments, looking after someone, spending maybe 24/7 caring for someone, and nobody takes the time to have a conversation, so they can feel very unsupported and unvalued. They often look on themselves as a hidden army, and they just really want somebody to acknowledge that that's what they're doing and that they are experts in the care of the person that they're looking after and would like to be partners in that care. Because of this, most carers aren't receiving the support that they need, and this has an impact not just on their well-being, but also on the patient, so that the person that they're looking after.
Thank you, Jill. In addition to what Jill's already described, there's another anxiety around identification of young carers. As we'd said, in every classroom in Sheffield, we estimate there will be between 2 and 3 young carers. Most of those are not recorded or identified. One of the reasons for this is there is a huge amount of anxiety in families, often stemming from the parents' fear of service involvement, feeling judged, feeling guilt, feeling lots of difficult, complex emotions about the fact that their child is having to support them and care for them. Or in some cases, if it's a sibling carer, that they are having to rely on that child to support them, to support the sibling. So it's really important we think about how we might approach families where we feel that there might be a young carer, very much from a solution focused perspective, looking at ensuring that they know that there is support out here for young people. And we will go into that a little bit later, but we just wanted to sort of bring this to your attention, that there will be in many families an awful lot of anxiety admitting that there's a young carer in the family. Thank you. So guys, we're going to go to breakout rooms now. So just have a few minutes, and if in your groups, if you could just have a chat about how you might be able to identify either adult or young carers in your current role, in your surgeries. If you want to use the chat box to post any ideas, hopefully we'll have time to pick up on a couple of those before we move on to the next section. But we will certainly be looking at all those ideas together, Jill and I, at the end. And if there's any particular things that we need to follow up on, we will be doing so. So yeah, if you're happy to go into your breakout rooms, we shall see you shortly. Thank you. Are the breakout rooms coming up, Jill?
I can't see anything at this end.
No. Oh,
it's all right. Everybody's just disappearing into them now.
That's
They're
it.
open.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's all right. What I'll do is I've set up 5 rooms, and what I'll do is I will just assign you both into a room if you want to pop in and just have a quick chat. Do you want me to do that now for you, just so you're in and you can start those conversations? Yeah, no worries. Right, what I'll do.
So Natalie, when we come out, we can come out and then pop into another one, can we?
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll give you a minute or so in one room, and then what I'll do is I'll just pull you out, and then I'll pop you in another one. There might not be any warning, because I don't know if you've got the view on your side or not. So I'll pull you back out. I'll pop you in another one, but it's just mainly just to check everybody's all right. But I'll pop you in there now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries.
Oh, we're back.
Oh, I think
Oh.
you've come back.
What happened
don't know
there?
what's happened there.
Hello.
We are back.
I think.
Oh,
Are we meant to be back?
Sorry, guys. That might be my fault. I set a timer on you all, so you were deep in conversation and I ruined it for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought
I'm
I
just
did
going to
something. I was
shut
like, oh,
a
no.
window down and hopefully, Natalie, I'm not very sure what's happened. Would it be normal for me to have come out onto another screen where I can't see the presentation?
Potentially, if it's thrown you out, it might have opened in another window.
So I won't leave this then. I'll reshare.
Yeah. It should just, if you just reshare, it'll come straight back up. It'll have just stopped you sharing with you joining the breakout room.
Okay, right. I'll just work our way through to where we are in the presentation. So I know that I kind of briefly joined a couple of presentations. Hang on, sorry, I'm not sharing. Oh, I know I am sharing.
Technical.
Oh, and somebody's having technical issues. Let me just get the chat up. I don't know. Oh, Heather's having technical issues, but she can hear us. I don't think anybody actually had time to post any ideas in the chat box, but if anybody does have something they'd like to share with us, do you want to raise your hand and we can? So I just wonder.
I was just saying in the break room.
Hi, is that you, Jessica?
Hi, yeah, sorry, my phone keeps on blowing up. I was just saying in the break room, because I'm a receptionist at Caulfield Medical Centre, and it's crazy how many people are young carers and aren't registered in our system. So I've been in control of that the last couple of months, trying to get that all sorted to make sure we can give them the best help I can. As I was a carer, I used to be a carer, registered. So I know a lot about it and how they feel as well.
That's fantastic. Amazing. Yeah, I think, and I was going to say actually, and I should have said this at the beginning of the session, that we are aware, obviously, that a lot of you may have caring experiences yourselves as a young carer or currently as an adult carer or in the past, or you may have a family member or a friend who's currently caring. And just to let you know, do look after yourself during this session. It can be emotive for everyone, and obviously that we are here to support you as well if you need support. And after the session, for example, I mean, you'd be more than welcome to call our advice line, and I'm sure Sheffield Young Carers can offer support. I think from the NHS survey in 2022, I think it is something like 3 in 5 NHS employees rather are carers. So it wouldn't be surprising if we have a lot of carers on the session today. So thank you for that, Jessica, and really good to hear that you're doing something proactive in your surgery. Has anybody got anything else they'd like to share about how they identify either adult or young carers? No, that's fine. Well, we'll move on anyway and talk about some of the ideas that we have that we learned from carers and young carers. And I think you've probably all picked up on this. The main thing is don't wait for carers to flag themselves. Don't ask if they are a carer. That's not language that they're going to respond to. So you could look at saying something like, do you look after someone who couldn't manage without your, whoops, sorry, skipped on a slide by mistake. who couldn't manage without your support. And I'm sure you're aware as well, it's quite likely to be obvious who they are when they're coming into the surgery with the person that they're caring for. You'd also think about, if you haven't already, asking people themselves who have a long-term condition, is there someone who supports you, and remembering that could be a young person or a child as well as an adult. So does someone support you who you couldn't manage without? As I say, just having a conversation, just asking if they're getting support, how things are for them, it will help to make them feel valued and recognised. They absolutely don't have to take on board that term carer. They just need to know really that that's what they're doing, and that means there is support available for them. And the earlier that you can identify someone as a carer and start to put support in to minimise the impacts that we've talked about, the less likely the caring relationship is to get into crisis and to break down. And certainly by referring into us as early as possible can prevent a lot of the carer stress and crisis that we tend to see by the time a lot of people do actually come to us. It's been a number of years and they are really struggling. We have a toolkit which some of you may be aware of that you can download off our website. So it consists of a carer identification tool and tips for conversations with carers. So just really to help you remember the sort of reasons why people may not identify. And on this slide, you can see some of the myths that people believe, but then the actual facts. And also some ideas about how you might start a conversation with a carer. So over to you, Helen.
Thank you, Jill. So, yeah, as I've already said, young carers are an especially hidden group, although there are very many hidden adult carers as well. Some of the signs that might suggest a young person has some caring responsibilities could be them coming into the surgery, showing anxiety or concern over a relative, accompanying their cared for person to appointments. So if you see a pattern of one young person accompanying the same patient to all their appointments, that's probably a strong indication that young person has got caring responsibilities. For anybody that might be in pharmacy, young people, particularly of the teenage up to young adult carers, collecting medication. Obviously, we wouldn't expect 8-year-olds to be doing that, but in some cases they might try to. Young carers, particularly if they are feeling overwhelmed by what they're doing, may present with low self-esteem, low confidence, low mood, maybe in their own appointments or just in general presentation. They may be suffering from back pain or other unexplained related aches and pains. And one of the things we see when a lot of young carers are reaching crisis point really is that their emotional resilience becomes really challenged, and they may have amplified responses to situations due to emotional strain, unanticipated outbursts. Now, this is the sort of thing that actually would be more regularly seen in schools, and often teaching staff will pick up young people are caring through a pattern of behaviour changes in schools, but it may be something that you see in your surgeries as well. So those are just some ideas of the visual things that you may see. These are some suggestions that have been written by some of the young people we support, the things that they think all professionals should be doing really. Should basically please just ask if someone has children helping them at home. And that can be done in a very non-confrontational way, but again, just be aware that there may be some reluctance to share because there may be some fear there around service involvement. So it's really important to ask in a way that shows that you're caring about the situation, and to make sure that parents and children know that there is help available to them, and reassure them that you're asking from the perspective of signposting them to support rather than being judgmental. Really importantly, young carers are experts in keeping the person they live with and care for well. And often because of their age, their opinions, their role gets overlooked. So just please remember, young carers are experts in the person that they care for. It already sounds like quite a few surgeries are doing this, which is fantastic. But yeah, making sure everybody in your surgery knows that there's a young carer in the family, and logging it on your systems, flagging it on your systems if you can. And really importantly, this has been brought up by a number of young people we've supported, and that's please let us know if there's a change or a new diagnosis, so that that young person can be prepared. Obviously, that's got to be with the consent of the patient as well. But it's really important if there's a change in medication, if there's a change in condition, which might mean that that young person has to contact emergency services, it's really important they know what that is. So please, if they're coming into appointments with the people they care for, make sure they understand what's going on with the patient's consent. So those were just some suggestions from some of the young people that we have worked with most recently.
Thank you, Helen. Okay, so now both Helen and I are going to talk about the support that both Sheffield Carers Centre and Sheffield Young Carers are able to offer. So Sheffield Carers Centre, so we offer support to anybody aged over 18 who lives in the city or cares for somebody who lives in Sheffield. Carers can register themselves. We have an online form, or they can call in. They can call into our advice line and be put through after just giving a few details to one of our carer advisors. You can, I know a lot of you already do refer yourselves, and I'll talk about that later. But carers, if you're signposting, carers can register themselves. So our support, it's as we've already said, there isn't a typical carer, and everybody's caring role varies. So for that reason, our support is carer focused, so it's very unique to each carer. As soon as somebody is registered with us, they'll have access to advice, information, support, and importantly, if they want it, contact with other people who are going through similar challenges. Once they're registered, either if they fill in the form or call us, or if you fill in a referral form on their behalf, they'll receive a welcome pack from us and a carer card. So the welcome pack just details everything that we're able to offer to them, and the carers card that you can see on the slide there, if you're not aware of it already, offers them discounts across the city. So one of the better ones that I always mention is that they'll get 40% off gym membership at Sheffield City Trust sports centres, so like Ponds Forge, Hillsborough, etc. We also ask for their email address if they have one, so that they can get our monthly e-newsletter. And for some people, that's all they need, particularly if they're just starting out on their caring journey. But by registering them as early as possible, it means that they know we're here, they know they're entitled to support from us, and if circumstances change, if they're starting to have problems, no matter what area, they can get in touch. So our sort of first line of support is our carer advice line, and we have a fantastic team of carer advisors who can really give help and advice on the phone or by email or text these days on any aspect of the caring role. So the advice line's open Monday to Friday, 10 till 4 o'clock, and they can talk about people are struggling with how the social care system works, want to know what their rights as a carer are, if they want to know what benefits and financial support they're entitled to. They're experts in signposting to other services in the city, and they also carry out carer assessments if that's appropriate. So everything I'm going to talk about in the following slides is available. So we have two levels of support. We have our universal service, which is really suitable for most carers. And certainly if somebody's starting out on their caring journey, the universal service would be appropriate. Then we do carer assessments. So that's if the caring situation is complex, or if the caring relationship is in danger of breaking down. But the carer, if any carer contacts the advice line at any time, they're constantly triaging. So if somebody's just being referred for the universal service and the carer advisor actually feels that what they need is a carer's assessment, they will bring that forward. And I would also say, if you have somebody in the surgery who's really struggling, don't wait to do the online forms. Either phone on their behalf, or we had a recent case where a carer who was very much struggling, very stressed, called in, and somebody at the GPs had given them a quiet room to give us a call. So people can get instant support if they really need it. So social contact with other carers. So we have support groups. We have a carers cafe every Friday. Once a month, that's at the town hall. And the other Fridays in the month, it's on Zoom. We do lots and lots of group activities, sort of adding to the list all the time, but we have a walk and talk group. We're starting an art group. We have a group at Sage, at the allotments there, where people can come together and do craft activities. I'm trying to think what else, but there are a lot. It's all on our website, so have a look. There's a calendar which shows what's coming up each month. We also put on workshops, the ones that we've done in the past. We've done some around dementia, moving and handling, first aid. So anything that may be of use to carers, and also give them a chance to meet other people. I've already mentioned the monthly e-carer news if people have an email. If not, we're reintroducing some hard copy newsletters, because one of the pieces of feedback that we often get is that a lot of more elderly carers particularly don't actually have an email. So we're now going to be sending out every quarter a paper copy of the newsletter. There's lots of information on the website. We also have Sheffield City Council pay for carers in the city to have access to Carers UK digital information resource, and they can do that through our website. For carers who are really struggling, who are really isolated, we have Community Connect, which is a volunteer-run service where people will get a regular, so it's sort of a befriending service. People will get a regular phone call from one of our befrienders, volunteers. We have so everything that we do is free, including the legal advice clinic, which runs once a month. Carers can book an appointment to discuss some legal matters. So typical things would be wills, power of attorney. We have somebody from Sheffield Talking Therapies who comes into offices on a Monday. So our carer advisors, if they're speaking to somebody who they feel needs more emotional support, they can make an appointment either face to face with Amy or on the phone. So she's here every Monday just to support carers. If carers go through the carer assessment, if that's appropriate, they should be entitled for a time for a break grant. So this is to help, as we've already said, carers don't get a break. What they need is a break. So in discussion with a carer advisor, they will talk about what would be a break for them. So that may be physically going away for a night or a weekend, but increasingly we see people spend it on a hobby. So people buy things like walking boots, fishing equipment, art materials, really anything that would help them to feel like they're getting a break from their caring.
Thank you, Jill. And at Sheffield Young Carers, we actually work with young people aged 8 to 25. So the 18 to 25-year-olds are young adult carers and would also be eligible for support from the Sheffield Carer Centre. But what we offer looks quite different. So what we aim to do with any young person referred into our service is offer a full 12 months worth of support. They would get a one-to-one support worker and typically have 4 to 6 one-to-one sessions. That may be helping them understand the condition of the person they care for, understanding medication, looking at safety planning. But that young person will stay with us for a year, and throughout that year we give them a break from their caring by putting on groups and activities. Our groups run weekly and our activities happen during every school holiday. We're looking at building their resilience and confidence, helping them manage the caring or family life, reducing the impact that the caring is having on their lives. So we might spend quite a lot of time advocating with schools, liaising with the parents, and also giving them opportunities to improve their own physical health and well-being. And for the young people that need it, we do have an in-house counselling service that we can fund for those young people, which is especially important at the moment with CAM's waiting list being absolutely off the scale. Just to reiterate our principles, and that's that it should be the right of every young carer to be recognised in their role and have the same opportunities and life chances of children and young people of a similar age. So that's the overarching aim of what we do. Thank you. So our weekly group sessions are split into 3 groups. So we have an 8 to 12-year-old group, and we provide transport to all those activities, a 12 to 16-year-old group, and a 16 to 25-year-old group. Holiday activities happen in every school holiday. It can be things like rock climbing, bowling, swimming, horse riding. We try and make the activities as inclusive as we can do. And we have the young people helping us co-design what we're going to be running each year. We offer advocacy, signposting and training to young people, but also in around 25% of the young people that are referred, we will offer additional wraparound family support, and we will get to know the person they're caring for and look at the practical and emotional support we can offer as a service to try and reduce the impact of the caring on that young person in the family. That can be really practical things like aid and adaptation referrals, supporting with benefit applications, looking at housing issues more generally. Or it could be reducing the social isolation of the person that's being cared for so that they create a new network and develop some peer support and take a little bit of the pressure off their young person. All our young people over the age of 12, when they've finished their year of support, they are invited to access our action group, and that is a participation group, I'll put my teeth in, for young people who want to use their experience to influence changes within society. So raising awareness of young carers, looking at government policy, looking at national policy. Our young people, the last 3 or 4 years, have all been down to the House of Commons at the invitation of our local MP, and they get a really good opportunity to actually use their experience for changing, hopefully, policy of the future. Thank you, Jill.
Okay, so we're now going to have a look at really at some sort of practical ideas. I just thought I'd mention, I don't know if any of you have seen this before, but I think it was in 2019, NHS England developed some quality markers for GPs. So they developed them together with both adult and young carers, primary care teams and other partners. I think both the Carers Trust and Carers UK were involved. And they came up with some practical actions which are voluntary, but endorsed by the CQC. And they looked at 6 different areas. So identification and registration, in practice support, so holistic support needs, so the sort of well-being needs of carers, appointments and access, information for carers, and awareness and culture. So our staff aware about carers and their need for support. So that's something that you might like to have a look at, because there's lots of practical ideas which came from across the country from primary care teams who are actively supporting carers. I'll also mention another resource that you might want to have a look at, which is something that was developed regionally by NHS England, which is the Practitioner's Guide to Carer Support. So you'll find that on the South Yorkshire ICS website, and there's one for each of the areas in South Yorkshire, but there is one specific to Sheffield. And we're going to put you into breakout groups again in a minute, just really to have a talk about what you're already doing, what you might look at. And these are just some of the ideas that I picked out really from the GP markers. So looking at how you're using your register, is it updated? How are you doing that? How, do you have forms, paper forms at reception or on the website? Are people asked when they register with the practice? Have you considered having a staff member as a carers champion? How do you communicate with carers specifically? Do you have a section on the website? Do you have items for carers in any newsletter that you might send out, or social media post? Do you have a carers notice board? Do you maybe have a pack that you could give to carers once they're identified with information? And looking at appointments, we've already mentioned how it can be difficult for carers. So do they have priority? Can you give them double appointments for themselves and the cared for person? Carer awareness training for all staff. And does everybody know about the processes to refer both adult and young carers to the Carers Centre and Sheffield Young Carers? So I say, Natalie's going to put you into breakout rooms again. I think you'll hopefully have a little bit longer than in the last one. So just have a chat with the other people in your breakout room about what you're currently doing, if you've had any ideas during this session, and if you have time, put any ideas, put them in the chat box.
Yeah, you've all got 10 minutes.
So we'll see you again in a little
one.
bit.
I've extended you, so don't worry. I hopefully won't interrupt you mid-discussion. You've got 10 minutes. I'll put you in now.
Lindsay, I think you were just asking a question when we got cut off from our group.
Yeah, I just wanted to see whether I could share the Gemma's email, just so we could email each other with well, so I've got some ideas, because I've only just really come into this role not long ago, so I don't do any carers support or anything, but it's something that I'd be interested in expanding with the help of my practice manager. But any ideas Gemma can throw my way would be amazing.
Yeah, I think sorry, I'm just trying to get this sorted. That was one thing that we were discussing in one of the breakout rooms that I was in, that certainly there's something that's been spoken about in the past and that I would be happy to look at with anybody who's here today or anybody else who sees the recording in the future, is looking at having a network of primary care carer champions. So certainly I think a couple of people in the groups I was in thought that they might be interested in having a look at that. We have at the end of the session, Natalie's going to pop a short survey into the chat box, and if you fill that in, there's an opportunity for you to put your email, and there's a sort of comments box at the end of the survey. So if you put that that's something you would be interested in, or anything else that's come out of today that you'd like to explore further, have contact with me and Helen about, you know, just pop that in the survey, and we'll or pop it in the chat box as we just finished this last section of the session, and me and Helen will, you know, if we don't have time, because we are coming up, you know, we've got 15 minutes left, so we may not have a lot of time at the end of the session to answer any questions, but anything that we've not covered or that you feel you'd like to get involved with, please do pop it in the chat or in the survey. I think somebody just raised their hand.
Sorry, it's Ruth Tupper here, GP from Grove Park. Hi, just really quick question. Can I say it's been brilliant, really useful what you've discussed. In our group, we were just talking about, particularly like in the young carers group, but it can happen in any age, the safeguarding issue. So in your kind of support, I presume you've got systems in place that's just monitoring for stuff like that, because sometimes, especially with the young carers under 16, there's that balance, isn't it, of, you know, how do we support them, but also there might be a bit of a safeguarding. Absolutely. You know, how does that work roughly?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. There is a threshold that if young people are providing a level of care beyond a certain threshold, then it becomes a safeguarding matter. We work probably maybe 20% of the young people we work with are either under children in need or under child protection. But we're always working in a very solution-focused way to actually be able to support the family to make the changes they need to in the long term to get them off child protection and out of safeguarding. But the truth is, some young people do take on inappropriate care, and they will cross that safeguarding threshold, and then it's our role then to work alongside social care and any other services that are involved, and often it is multiple services. Quite often I go to meetings where there might be 8 or 10 professionals to actually reduce that caring sufficiently so that the family are safe to stay together. But yeah, safeguarding is taken really seriously, and I am actually one of the safeguarding leads in our organisation, and it's around 20% of the young people that we work with here.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, we take safeguarding very seriously as well, and our carer advisors deal with situations quite frequently where they need to, you know, put in place our safeguarding processes. So yeah, that's something that we're certainly very aware of. So I think we need to, sorry to sort of cut that short, but I'm aware of time. So we're just now going to go through some of the things that we have available for you. So I think it's over to you, Helen, for the first couple of slides.
Yeah, thank you, Jill. So Sheffield Carers Centre have got a number, well, 2 downloadable A4 posters and some leaflets, which will be on the next page, which you can actually download from their website, and the link is shown there. At Sheffield Young Carers, we're not quite as advanced as that at the moment. Our poster is not downloadable just yet, but we can send copies out, we can have some delivered to you, and you would just need to contact our information at email address just there. We have leaflets here as well, which are quite handy to have a stock of. I would say possibly on reception desk in most primary care surgeries, that you can hand out to people. The Sheffield Young Carers leaflets are designed to be readable by both parents and young people. And the Sheffield Carers Centre also have a number of leaflets explaining all the support services they offer, as well as the business cards, which are quite handy because they're very portable. And again, they can be downloaded from the website.
Or they can actually be ordered. So
pre-ordered those ones. Sorry,
I don't expect you to be an expert in our resources
in your leaflet.
but yeah, and I'd just say about the posters there, you can't order those off the website at the moment. You can download them and print them, but if you don't have a colour printer, for example, just get in touch with me and we can sort something out. All our contact details are at the end of the email. Just very quickly, I talked about carers registering themselves online, and hopefully after this session, those of you who don't, and I know in the breakout rooms I've spoken to some people who I know very well and are already referring into us, but do consider making the referral yourself. Signposting is great, but obviously you may hand out a leaflet, and the carer may have the intention of doing it, but if they're really busy, stressed, etc., they may not have time, or just the general impetus to refer themselves. So if you can make the referral, you clearly need consent from the carer. We have 2 referral pathways. I'll not talk about that too much because there's referral guidelines on our website, but the Universal Service covers everything apart from the carers assessment and meets the needs of most carers. But if there's any situation where you feel the caring situation is complex or at risk of breaking down, do consider a carers assessment. We've got lots of other information on the website. So I've already mentioned you can order and download our resources. Sign up for our e-bulletin if you haven't already. So that comes out about once every 2 months. And you can also have a look at further training options. So we do 3 times a year, we do a joint training session with Sheffield Young Carers. I think the next one's coming up in early July, but the details are on both ours and Young Carers website. I'm also available to come and do talks in team meetings, etc. So do get in touch and follow us on social media. Over to you, Helen.
Thank you. So at Sheffield Young Carers, we can accept referrals from professionals, or young people and families can self-refer for support. All our referral forms are on our website. We talked about this in the group we were in, but actually for any families that are a little bit more reluctant through anxiety or fear, we have some films on our website, some made by the young people, but we also have a parents' film, a film made by parents that are cared for by their children, and that's to destigmatize the support that we offer here, to destigmatise being a parent that is cared for, and to try and encourage other people to reach out for support. So that can be quite good at sort of myth busting with those ones, those families that are quite anxious. We do have, in addition to the joint training we do with the Adult Carer Centre, we do have an online CPT accredited online training course, which can be accessed via our website in the professional section. We send out a quarterly newsletter, and also on every social media you can imagine, apart from TikTok, but I believe that's under development. Being a young person's service. We're also working on resources that may interest you in the future. So we're currently working together on some standard text for web pages about carers and the services available in Sheffield. We're looking at the possibility of creating some slides for your electronic screens in your waiting room that could be quite helpful. We're looking at self-identification and referral forms, and we're going to look at all the suggestions that you've shared with us today to see what we're missing, to see what else would be useful. And again, please do get in touch with us. If there is something you've not had chance to mention or discuss today that you think would be helpful, we'd be really happy to discuss that with you. So just finally, it's important for you guys to hear why this is important to carers and the people that they care for. And these are just 4 examples of quotes that have been taken from surveys, which it was the Carer Involvement Network. That's right.
We have a Carer Involvement Network, so we have. So that's something else that we can, because we don't want to be just deciding on things and without referring to carers. So we have a Carer Involvement Network that we can send out surveys, see what works for them, give them a chance to look at any new resources, etc., that we're developing. So really taking account of the carer's voice in everything that we do. And we actually sent out a survey just this last weekend and asked for some comments about how GPs in the city, GP practices, staff have supported them, and these were 3 that we got back. Yeah. Well, and we had many more, but those are just 3 I picked out.
Just picking the,
I mean, it's just we only had 3.
Yeah, and also the one that's on there in the yellow box, that's from a young carer that we have supported who felt largely ignored and didn't feel that their caring was initially taken on board, but actually once their caring was recognised, they felt really well supported, and basically says, you know, that the support they got from the GP helps them as a carer keep their mum well, which is absolutely essential. So we are really conscious that we're running out of time quickly, aren't we, Jill? Yes. So you will be getting these slides afterwards anyway, but all our contact details are on here. Please get in touch. You'll see in the chat Natalie has just popped in, and I promise you it's a very brief survey, just for a little bit of feedback from today's session. There is space on there as well if there's anything you think might have been important that you feel we've not covered, or any questions that you might have or suggestions you might want to make, but we would appreciate you filling that in. Just in these last few minutes, are there any immediate questions from anybody?
No, well, thank you, everyone. It's been lovely to see so many people and meet some of you in the breakout rooms, and do keep in touch, and you know, we will try and work together to improve things together with you and your colleagues in primary care to improve things for adult and young carers across the city. So thank you for spending the time with us this afternoon.
Yeah, thanks everybody, and please make sure you look after yourselves as well. If you've been affected by anything we've discussed today, make sure you look after yourselves for the rest of the afternoon, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.